no way this just happened, as the Milwaukee Bucks just pulled off a shocking series of moves, most shocking being Damian Lillard getting waived by this team, and reports have come out that Giannis Antetokounmpo is not happy, specifically with the Damian Lillard departure. And the Toronto Raptors, say what you want about the Masai Ujiri departure. I know there's some people that support it, some people that don't like it. This couldn't have come at a worse time if you are on the hype train, if you are following that plane, following that private jet with Giannis Antetokounmpo, and it's since 2018, since Giannis was drafted, there have been links, there has been a hope, there has been a pursuit of bringing him to Toronto, and now the Raptors have positioned themselves by their own doing as making this a lot more tough on this franchise. So if some of the things in the rumor mill come to fruition, there is a possibility. I'll dive into that in this video, but we're going to break down what's going on with Giannis right now and how the Toronto Raptors shot themselves in the foot in terms of this Giannis pursuit. So lots of stuff to break down in this video, but folks, you guys have been crushing it. Hit that subscribe button. We are 1,500 subscribers away right now from 40,000, marching towards our goal. So if you want daily Toronto Raptors updates and want to join this community that is going to be 40,000 strong soon, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. But let's dive into it, because there has been a series of moves that ended up coming out today, as Shams Charania just revealed that free agent center Miles Turner has agreed to a 4-year, $107 million deal with the Milwaukee Bucks, plus a player option on year 4 for the 28-29 season. So the Milwaukee Bucks, you see that initial report and you're like, okay, Giannis dreams, whether you're a Raptors fan, a Hawks fan, a Rockets fan, the dream is dead. Turner fits around this Giannis group better than any of the rumored options out there, like DeAndre Ayton or whoever the heck else was out there on the market. You're like, okay, things are set there. He'll at least go into the season with this Bucks squad. But then move two comes. Move two comes for the Milwaukee Bucks, and the Bucks are waiving Damian Lillard, stretching the remaining $113 million on his contract in order to acquire Miles Turner. League sources tell ESPN. Lillard's 2 seasons in Milwaukee come to an end as he rehabilitates from his torn Achilles tendon. So you have that there, okay? The Milwaukee Bucks waive Damian Lillard, and then you see that, it's like, okay, I wonder how Giannis thinks about this, because there's not a real future for the Milwaukee Bucks right now in terms of draft picks, in terms of young players that are super excited, or anything like that. And they did a whole series of moves today as well. Gary Harris going to the Bucks, Pat Connaughton getting traded, Vasily Micic going back to the Milwaukee Bucks, if that's how you pronounce his name. You also have, in terms of Gary Trent Jr. coming back, Bobby Portis coming back. You look at that roster, and there's not a ton of upside for any of those guys out there on the team. They don't have their draft picks, and they're locked in now. They're locked in with this roster to Kyle Kuzma, to Miles Turner, and $22 million a year till 2030 to Damian Lillard to not even be on the team. So you don't even have the hope of, hey, All-NBA Damian Lillard coming back next year, like not this upcoming season, the season after. So you don't even have that hope. So that's when this news that Damian Lillard ended up leaving the Milwaukee Bucks, Giannis expressed his frustration, as Chris Haynes, who has had some interesting reporting in the past, notably reporting Gary Trent Jr. big extension that the Raptors dodged that bullet, but basically that Milwaukee Bucks star Giannis Antetokounmpo is not pleased with the team's decision to waive Damian Lillard. So that's what came out from Chris Haynes, and they don't have much of a future. He doesn't like this move of waiving Damian Lillard, which is, of course, one of the biggest moves that they can make. It's all coming together, and Chris Haynes, the reason why this is really tight, ensured, there's legitimacy to this, is he has a tight relationship. I think he's related to Giannis's wife. That's what's coming out there on Twitter and things that I've seen. He's pretty in tune with all of this type of stuff. So Giannis has expressed his frustrations there. The roster long-term feels like it got worse. They still don't have their draft picks, and they are tied in now to Kuzma, Turner, and Giannis, rather than like the hopes and dreams of like Damian Lillard staying, who has a tight relationship with Giannis. So this is where things get very, very interesting, weird, and why all these reports have been coming out over the last little while, because Brian Windhorst essentially revealed that, if we bring up the right report here, yes, so the Spurs, Heat, Rockets, and Knicks have quietly been positioning themselves for a run at Giannis Antetokounmpo. As I've stated earlier, there's insiders that think it's going to be the Knicks, whatever, right? But there's 4 teams out there in the NBA right now that have made that pursuit for Giannis real, because they believe a trade request is coming. Shams Charania also has been hinting, dropping little nuggets all throughout this offseason. Hey, despite what's coming out from these different reporters, despite Giannis not requesting a trade request, he's still very, very closely monitoring what the Milwaukee Bucks are doing. He hasn't requested a trade. He hasn't demanded a move yet, but he is closely viewing what this team is doing out there in the NBA draft as well as free agency. So that's what Giannis is currently looking at with this Milwaukee Bucks team, and all signs are starting to point to, even in later summer, which Shams has essentially said from the jump, it won't be during free agency, it won't be during the draft, it will be later in the summer if Giannis ends up requesting a trade. So that's where Giannis's head's at in terms of all this news, in terms of all these reports, in terms of things that are kind of going on here now at this point. And this makes things very, very interesting for this team. But where do the Raptors come into play in all this? Because the Toronto Raptors have been in heavy pursuit, but of course with Masai Ujiri's name being interested and thrown into all these interesting moves and things like that. But basically, the Raptors, in terms of the odds right now, are still second in line to land Giannis Antetokounmpo if he requests a trade from the Bucks this summer. The Hawks have jumped them, given all of the nice moves that they've made around their team as of late. Got to give them credit. They have really positioned themselves well to either land a start or just go into next season doing, with the roster that they have. But the Raptors are still positional favorites, but without Masai Ujiri being in this organization, which was the main tie this team had to Giannis, as they had a relationship dating back years now at this point. That really makes things tough. And even tougher, the Raptors don't have a president of basketball operations. The direction of this franchise is still unknown because we don't know who's going to be manning the ship for this Raptors group. So if this ends up coming to fruition over the next couple of weeks, then the Raptors aren't really in a position to, give up all their assets to do something along those lines in order to bring in a Giannis Antetokounmpo and do something like that there. But there is one avenue where this still could get very interesting, as there are a few favorites in terms of who's going to come out and be the president of basketball operations for this team. The hope is it's Bobby Webster, but one name that's been thrown out a ton is this guy, Alex Saratis, of I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, of the Octagon Basketball Talent Representation Agency, has been floated as a potential candidate to take over Toronto's open team president role, according to Michael Grange of Sportsnet, in light of Ujiri's abrupt firing. So this is the guy that is the agent of Giannis Antetokounmpo. He has that's as tight of a relationship as you get. An agent for one of these players. And if he comes in and is the president of basketball operations for this team and beats out all these other contenders out there in the mix, then that's where, you have an even tighter relationship than Masai Ujiri had with Giannis. So that's where things could get very direct, I don't know if tampering would be involved if that ends up being the case, but that's a name to definitely watch out for. And if his agent ends up becoming the president of basketball operations, then the smoke for Giannis Antetokounmpo coming into the Toronto Raptors is going to be higher than it's ever been before. So let me know what you guys think about all of this in the comment section down below. Literally, as I was recording, the Toronto Raptors made a signing, so this video will probably come out later today, and then we'll break down the signing first. But you guys are the best. I'm signing out. Cheers.